Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of The M Word. My name is Robin. I'm the technical director here at Man and Machine in the UK, and as always, it's a pleasure to have you with us this afternoon. I'm joined with one of my colleagues today, Bianca, who's going to take us through some different things in the Autodesk Construction Cloud. So today we're focusing specifically on a product called Autodesk Build. And whilst Bianca's going to take you through quite a lot of Build and quite a few of the different bits of features and functions, we're going to try and focus on a few key areas to really try and drive the benefits and the use of this product and using this with collaborating with site teams, so on and so forth. So we're going to be focusing on the ability to work on the most up-to-date and live versions of files live from the site. We're going to be focusing on some workflows between the site workers and those people in the office to try and get rid of paper-based workflows and try and focus on digitizing as much as we can, such as issues and snags, for instance. We're going to have a little look at how we can use the forms-based workflows inside of Build to work with the health and safety procedures and things like that, as well as scheduling, working with requests for information, and also how we can view models live on the system as well. So should be a really interesting session, whether you're with us through Zoom or whether you're with us through YouTube. It's great to have you with us, and hopefully you find the process really, really useful. As always, if it's the first time you've been watching, give us a like, give us a subscribe, and most importantly, get in touch. Let us know what kind of sessions that you want to see, especially as we head into the festive season. We're doing a lot of planning for next year and these sessions that air every Thursday. So get in touch and let us know the kind of topics that you want to see. But yeah, without any further ado, I'm going to hand over to Bianca, who's going to take you through Autodesk Build for the next half hour, 35 minutes or so. So Bianca, over to you. Yeah.
Thank you, Rob, for that introduction. I'm happy to be here with you all today and go over those tips and tricks and really get into how Build can help you connect that site team with everyone that will be in the office or remote around the project. So starting from the very beginning, when you log into Build, you get this nice welcome page, and this gives you that overall update of the latest information within the project. So without having to go anywhere else, you can see all of your updates, and everything that I'm going to be discussing, you'll be able to have access through your app as well. So some of this functionality will carry over and make the process a lot easier. As Rob mentioned, no more paper. You can imagine weather affecting those processes while being on site. So now using your phone or a tablet, things are a lot smoother. So you can click on any of these links and it will bring you right into that specific tool of the page. So I'm going to start with the sheets, and so I'm just going to take it back a step. And the first area that we have on our list is using the latest information. So as you can imagine, information gets lost through translation. So the first area with the sheets allows the members on site to view the latest information that's been shared with them. Rather than going through the files area, which I'll show you in just a minute, this gives almost a quick access. So for example, we can see the name of the sheet. We can see the version. For example, this one here has 6 versions. We'll have a version set name, and these icons right next to it are giving us information as to what's on that document, whether that's markups for our individual view or markups that have been made to be shared with the wider team. In addition to that, these smart tags can be applied onto the sheet when you're uploading it, and there are also some that are generated by the system. So I'm just going to take a look at this one and show you some of the different tools on here. So the first thing that you notice, we have some markups, which are these different color tags here on the right. We have an issue, and we also have this photo icon. So all of this information is utilizing different tools within the system and communicating, different areas of the project. So if I just take one of these markups for example, this can all be done on the app. Now, if you're using only docs, there are some limited functionality with the app. So the Sheets is made specifically for our site users. So I can see here there's some text along with these markups, and then I can even add or include any references. And this will allow me to select information from all of my existing project work. So I'm just going to go through that and select another one of my PDFs to use as a reference. And this will feed back to the appropriate members that have access to view this document, whether that's team members back in the office or any of my other site team members. Now, once the reference is added to the markup, you will see a markup badge onto that. And it's here in the corner, but you can always select that link and that will take you directly to the reference as well. So of course, with the markups, you can make lots of color changes, text, and always delete them with just a few clicks if needed. So that's one way that the site members can mark up their information. You also have the photo tool, and this allows you to take existing photos from the project or add any new ones. So when you are working with the app, you have access to take a photo and it will directly be saved into the project. So this is a nice way to get those real live shots by selecting the photo. It will just give us the full overview and some information on when it was taken, the date, and any auto tags as well. You can always add some additional ones, and these will, whether that's location or additional tags you can add here. And of course, we will see the reference tab pretty much all around the hub. And again, if we wanted to add additional references, such as forms, additional markups, we have all of that information in one area. So you can start to see how we can build up a nice photo with all of our related information. Now coming back to our sheet, we can see here that we also have an issue. So dropping an issue can communicate a problem that might be on site or just general information that needs to be logged to another team member. So this gives us the ability to use some different statuses and assign it to another team member, how we have here. We've placed a location within the building, and we've also put a due date on here. So that will allow it to show an outstanding date. For example, will show in red, and I'll show you in a few minutes where else you can locate that. But it will stand out in red to let you know when it's past due. So you get a clear way, in addition to the markups, to know when that task is closed out. So maybe it's not something that needs to go through a formal review process, but you want to be aware that it's flagged for the correct members. So as you can see, lots of information here, again, using the references and connecting additional information. And this is just one area of the platform. This is only the sheets that we've accessed. And you can see we've used different tools to communicate. So we didn't have to go too far to be able to access this. If we just take a look on the left-hand side, all of those running issues will be listed through the Issues tab. We also have our locations that can be set up through this. We've already added our locations. And then also we have assets. So I'll show you in another area in a few minutes where the assets are located. But here are some manual ones that I've created on this sheet. So there are different ways of creating assets and bringing those into your project. But using this sheet, you can see how effective we can pull out different levels of information. By selecting any of these doors, it will highlight that specific one in the model and then allow me to give additional information, whether that's a description, update the status, or even adding a QR code or barcode on here. Again, this will allow the members on site to scan this information and pretty much pull up everything that we've discussed. If there was a form related to the asset, if there are any markups. So again, it's going to one place to find all of your information. So now that I'm just going to take you to through the files area. So all of our sheets will be located here from the start of the project to the very end. So this will probably be the first stop that your site members use to see the latest information that they require. Now, if they want to take a deeper dive, you can open the files and you will have access to your folder structure. You might not see all the folders available in the project. You might just have access to one within there. Now you will have an area where you can find your PDFs or your sheets, similar to what we were viewing in the Sheets tab. However, you don't have the same accessibility with the tools when you're using the app. For example, you couldn't use the markups within this area. So using the sheets is going to be the main area that you would want to go to. So I'm just going to open this Revit model and highlight a couple of other areas that will be beneficial. So the first thing, I've pulled up a 3D view, but if there are any additional sheets, I could always refer to them through the sheet list on the left-hand side. And if I have, again, any issues that might have been created through the doc space, they will continue to populate on all of my sheets. If I'm taking a look, so here we just have some additional ones, but what I will highlight in the 3D space while we're here, one of the latest features that's appeared is the assets and being able to see those in a 3D model. Now, the sheets that I showed you a few minutes ago were highlighted in purple, saying that they were delivered. So in this 3D model, I'll be able to view all of my assets and see how those colors really come in effect and give us easy overview of all of our different information in here. So I can see some blues. I can see that some of those doors are inside the model. So you can always use the section selector and adjust that a bit to see those different levels. So you can navigate around and extract that information, but overall you're getting the same status codes available in that 3D viewer. Again, of course, you could always select any of them on the left-hand side, and that will highlight the specific asset. So following on from there, let's see. So that's connecting between our sites and our office. And you can see all of this as it's done on the app or on the web. That's eliminated, having to print the paper and having the latest information. Now, if we go to our next tool, I'll just touch on the issues. So I've showed you how they look on a sheet or on a drawing in a model, but here we have our overall list. Now there are some permissions involved, but you will be able to see all of the issues that you've assigned to your team members or all of the issues that have been assigned to you. And as I mentioned, in some cases, not all of the issues need to be assigned to a specific area in the model or a sheet. So you can see some here have a placement and then some here just have a blank area. And that's just to indicate it's still a raised issue. It's still something that needs to be communicated, but it's not necessarily on a specific drawing file, which is a perfectly correct way to use an issue as well if you need. These categories can all be customized. So you might have a certain categories that your site members would use versus your design team. And the reporting feature will allow you to extract this information and then locate common trends and be a bit more proactive on issues that might be reoccurring. So this is a nice overview to view all of the outstanding issues in one place. Of course, if you use the link, it will bring us back into one of those sheets or files that we just saw a minute ago. And of course, with all of these files that we look at, we can always return to a previous version if we need as well. So if I just show you this version 2, the site members will have the option to compare previous versions. So that can always help. They might seem like nothing's changed, but that if they want to view the changes in one place, they can use the compare feature, and that would be a little bit easier than from the site team having to guess. Now by default, we'll place them right on top of each other, but this will allow us to align them and move them slightly into place. So if anything's changed or been re-added, they'll highlight. You can also compare files that are not the same document. So you can take one file in an existing folder and search another document. So that is possible as well. So that was the issues. Again, different ways to communicate and being able to assign them to individuals. We did have health and safety on the list and different process and what that possibility, what that can look like. Now, with the new build, we have the option to create forms within the system, within the ACC hub. And we also have the ability to upload existing PDFs and existing documents that we might have. They are permission-based once again, so don't feel overwhelmed looking at this long list of forms. We can highlight and create the forms that are just relevant, for our site members, and the ones that, will be accessing or need to access certain documents. So if I take this one, for example, we have a form that's been created by the system. And the nice thing about this is you're able to make the questions mandatory. So that means any member cannot submit this form until each question has an answer provided for it. The other option that you have with this is configured answers. So for example, in this question here, the answer is yes. And that's a pre-configured required answer. So that means they need to provide a photo. I would like to see all the site members using or wearing their hard hats, and to ensure that the appropriate uniforms and safety gear is being used. So as you go along, you can continue to fill out the answers or use the questions on the left-hand side, and that will take you to the next category of the form. So we have some photos, we have some references on here, and imagine that you're using this on a tablet, how quick it is just to, fill in one of these multiple choice questions, or take a quick picture and add that as a reference. Now this is the way that you can use the form with the form builder. Now we can create a two-step signature as well. So if you, want to get the first signature, from a site manager, and then have someone double check that, you can place that within the system as well. Now, if I'm taking it back, I'll show you a form that has been uploaded, and it's going to look slightly different. So we have almost like this document that has been uploaded to the system. So it could be existing documents that you might have, and then just make them into smart PDF. So this will allow us to fill in the appropriate information, give our comments, and then add our signature and dates here at the bottom. Now, as the other ones had those pre-configured answers, and I was able to add a photo, you don't necessarily need to always include that as an answer. You will always have the ability to add references. So again, pulling photos, existing files, sheets, maybe even an issue with that. So if it's not included in the form, you will always have that option through the system. So I can see here this form is visible to 4 members. Again, you can create those groups that the forms are more relevant to. So whether that's site safety, and even, a category of forms that will be related, to design team or, document management control. So lots of flexibility, but ultimately you're having this stored in one place and making it accessible for all the right people, through the app or through logging onto this page. You will always see the same things regardless on where you're signed in. Okay, then from there, so I did highlight those photos and what those photos were looking like, but this will be our photo library. So we will have access to all of them. At the moment, there's no privacy settings here, so the photos are made available for the team. So if there's something that you don't want to share, storing it in the files area and then adding some permissions will probably be a better way for that. So again, by selecting any of the photos or using the map location, you can check where the photo was taken and make sure that those photos are related to the specific site of the project. We can mark those photos up, so you can see here some digital markups, and they will stay within the project photo area. Now, one workflow that we're going to touch on is the RFIs, requesting for information. Now, in many ways, this can be done in an email, through Teams. There's no way to track that. There's no way to, keep a record of it. And we want to avoid, having to dig through emails. So if I just cycle through here, through my status codes, I can place all of my open RFIs right here at the top. So it's nice and clear, and I can access this workflow and see the information that is being asked or what's being required of me. At the very top, we will have the information on which step the RFI is at. So right here, I can see that this one is in review by my colleague, Mark. So depending on permissions as well, that's something that'd be configured in the background. We're making it available for the correct team members. I can see that the default RFI workflow was used for that, and I'm waiting for my colleague to make the final answer. I can be added as a watcher. I'm listed here as a co-reviewer, so I could, you see, it is allowing me to submit the official response. So as a co-reviewer, you will have some flexibility with that. As we scroll down, there's some additional information here. For example, these special fields can be customized. So if you'd like something, a bit more tailored to your project, and there's certain things, that you must confirm, we can include that in the additional information area. Again, you're seeing a photo with that, and then the activity log, we can always, make some comments, and then they'll be notified by email. These will all be stored in the RFI section. So again, allowing our team members on site to either request or confirm the correct information that's needed. Through the RFI lists, I can see which ones are outstanding. So we do have some that are past due, many months. But it's all good. It will allow us to select anyone and then view the appropriate person and, flag that, send them an email, and, get to the bottom of, why it hasn't been completed. So with permissions and configuration of the workflow that you would like to use, that's all that's needed to be done in the background. Now from there, I'm just going to highlight some of the other tools that we have. So as I mentioned, if you needed to email within to one of your teammates, you can use the correspondence tool. So you can email directly from the project. It does allow you to email directly from the system or copy the email address and pop it into your own, mail manager account, Outlook account, and then email that way. So you're no longer searching again, as I mentioned, through emails, keeping everything in one place. And there are some privacy settings, so you can make it available just for your view if needed. But these nice status codes, again, will allow you to filter through that. Now, another one that comes is the schedule. So keeping everything organized and having an accurate schedule. We all know that that is quite important, and the planners like to be up to date. So here we have one schedule as an example, which I'll take you through, but you can have multiple. You might have different schedules. The compatibility is with Microsoft Project, Primavera, and Asta Power Project. So I'm just going to open this one, and right away at the very top, I'm seeing these suggestions that are waiting for review. And because I'm a project admin, this will allow me to review all of the suggestions. And what that means is I've shared this with the wider team, and someone has, changed this from viewing to suggestion. And then it allows them to select one of these tasks, and maybe, it needs to be marked as a delay. They can go ahead and fill in the added details. Maybe there's some material that's on back order. It could be a number of things causing delay. Once that's all set, that will go into the suggestion box. So as the project admin, I can review my suggestions, and I can go ahead and see here and either close the suggestion, to relay that back to the team member that's made this. But ultimately, I will update the schedule in the native software and then upload a new version. And the nice thing about that, as you can imagine, the versions will be, updated on a weekly basis. You have the ability to use the compare feature and see what's changed or what's been delayed. And that can be across different schedules as well. So you can actually compare up to 5 schedules at a time. So that can be quite helpful. So here we'll have the different versions. We can always return to those, but this is a clear way for everyone to view the latest outstanding tasks, where we are, and if there are any delays as well. So from a project admin perspective, you don't have to worry about someone making a change that you weren't aware of. You will still have that control, but it's still allowing the members, on site to create those suggestions, as they are the ones on the ground. So, they may be the first contact of seeing any problems that will affect the schedule progression. Now, from there, we are going to touch on the assets. Now, the assets, we took a look at the 3D color codes, but using the assets and the locations is very effective with the app. By selecting a QR code on whether that's, certain equipment or certain areas of the building, it's just pulling up all the information related to that location. So again, with whether that's an asset, it's really giving us, providing history. And as you continue to work with ACC and you move into other modules such as cost, you're providing a full story and a full picture for anyone that when you need to retrieve information and go back. So here we have some lists of our categories. The categories are manually created before you upload your assets. And I mentioned there's different ways that you can create your asset list. The easiest way, I would say, is just fully extracting it from the Revit model. Now, we're not doing it at the moment. It does take a little bit of time, but it's a pretty seamless process. But once my categories are set, I can customize my status codes. Unlike issues, you can add your own status codes, things that are maybe more relevant, stating delivery, time delay. And then we're also able to add any references. So I can pull this room and then just view any documents associated to that. And here we have a form. And if you're interested in using something like ACC Connect, you can get some automation with the forms. I know that is a common question. The more that you can be proactive and automated, I think that's, saves everyone time, right? That's what we're all after. So this is bringing me into a form, and it's a form that hasn't been filled out. So it's ready for me to put in the information I need and submit that. And that will still stay as a reference with the asset. So you can imagine if you have equipment and you are using checklists for that, make sure everything's been delivered on time, or make sure it's still working. These process, it's not something difficult, but it's a new way of documenting it and having it in one place. So this is just one of those forms. So ideally I would fill that out and then have that saved within my assets area and in my forms area. Now, I have a category for plants. And just to highlight that, it doesn't necessarily need to be an equipment piece, but an asset can be anything that you would like to, have status on. And if I just click here into the model, I can just show you how simple that will just take us into the view and highlight the plant that I've had delivered here. Okay. So I always tell our customers, it might be used in different ways for different companies, but ultimately it's allowing you to report on that information and locate it at any time. Lastly, we have the reports. So we did mention those issues on the very first instance, but being able to give a full report on those outstanding issues, locating those trends, and we have our reports area. So you can store them here, or they'll be stored by the system for 30 days. After that, you will need to use these three dots to download that report. And if you want to save it for longer, you'd save it in your Docs environment. So we have lots of templates here that come in our templates area. We have option to create some reports with form, issues, submittals. We have a bit more templates than what you might see in the Docs area. But ultimately, you can use the edit schedule, and this will allow you to generate that report on a weekly basis, daily, etc., and then email or include other members that you would like to be informed of this. So it might be a manager of each department of the issues, and you have that weekly report, and everyone can stay up to date. If you want to change this at any time, always be sure that you come back in here and modify the settings. If not, you'll be like me and get lots of emails from the system. So there is some flexibility talking about notification as a project admin. There is some new features that you can customize how frequent your users are getting those emails. So now you can create notification groups, so you can ensure that your site team, they are getting their notifications instantly. Maybe for other team members or manager, it's not as mandatory, so an hourly notification will be okay. And of course, you can create daily or never, but we all know we probably all need those notifications. So that is a new feature as well that's been enhanced. So today we touched on site teams working from the latest version. So whether that's your sheets or your files, enabling that version control will give you that clear access. We also touched on the connectivity. So again, if you're communicating through markups, if you're communicating through issues, even taking those live photos can all be helpful for the wider team. We also touched on health and safety. So if you'd like to use the forms and generate those checklists, and again, combining it with any of the assets, you'll be able to use the locations with the app to pull all that information up in one area. We also touched on the schedules. So remember that you can have multiple schedules in one area and view those suggestions from your team as they might be updating the activity. And then the last two was communicating the RFIs, taking you through that workflow. And as long as your permissions are set, you'll be good to go. So that's everything on Build and connecting the site. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you. See you next time.
Fantastic, thank you, Bianca. That was a really good insight into Autodesk Build, and I can't quite believe how far the application keeps coming. It's regularly getting updated, much like the rest of the construction cloud from Autodesk, and it's come a long way in a very, very short space of time. So it's fantastic to see those site-based workflows, access to the latest and greatest information, the ease of setting up and using such a simple thing as a form, bringing in a PDF and being able to reuse it rather than recreating it from scratch. So it really is a pleasure to work with, and thank you, Bianca, for a very, very good presentation. Really good job. And really, all that leaves me to say is a great big thank you once again to all of you for taking some time out, whether you're watching this live or whether you're watching it pre-recorded. We do hope it's been useful. Don't hesitate to get in touch if you want to request one of these sessions on a specific subject, or if you have a question for Bianca or for myself or one of the wider team about Autodesk Construction Cloud, or indeed any of the other Autodesk solutions, don't hesitate to reach out. But yeah, thank you ever so much. We'll leave you to your day. Enjoy the rest of it, and we'll catch you again at the same time next week. Take care. See you soon. Bye-bye.